All right, call the meeting to order at 5:30. Reading of the district's promise statement. We promise to provide a supportive environment where unique learning experiences empower all for their chosen life adventure. Number 3, are there any additional items for the agenda? If not, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
That's Tim Melky. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
That's Tim Burke. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. Motion carries 7-0. Recognition of visitors and open forum. We have Michael and Ryan. I don't think we have anybody signed up to speak. Reports and presentations. So we'll start with the student representative report, so.
Well, it's definitely a new school year. We got a lot of new teachers and a new administration. Things have been going pretty smoothly so far. Homecoming's later this year, so we're working on doing that, student council and other stuff. The game's on Thursday this year, so that's it'd be new for us, and then the volleyball game's on Friday. So we'll try and do some more fun activities for that. Still a Pep Fest on Friday. So that's pretty much what we're just working on and getting in gear with the school and the new teachers and the new administration to work on stuff.
I noticed that in the schedule.
MEA week?
No.
No, it's the week before.
Yeah, so,
Second week in October.
They wanted to give the football team an extra day because they play on Wednesday, the following week of it.
Gotcha.
okay, I was wondering why that was in the schedule like that. I thought, oh, interesting.
Originally, it was in schedule as Thursday because of the lack of officials. So a lot of games are getting moved to either Thursday or Saturday.
Mm,
So
Okay.
Oh,
that just
okay.
happened to be the way this one fell.
Oh, okay. Did you have any other updates, or is that it?
That's
Sorry.
about it.
Okay.
So Zach, question for you. Are you in school for lunches?
No, I'm not this year.
Okay. Have you heard anything from the students about the lunches or anything yet? Because I've, just from my own daughter and her friends.
Well, I know the end of last year, we did have some disturbances with like lunch and stuff, and also with like not having a good amount of staff yet. So there are some issues with that though, and with student behavior during lunch.
Yeah, this was not so much behavior, but running out of food.
Yeah, that did
taking-
happen some at the end of last year.
Yeah, just taking a real long time to get through the lines to where by the time they get through, they are, don't have a lot of time to eat. Like today, she goes, all they had was skim milk by the time she got there, so just maybe, I was gonna bring that up, Jeremy, but I figured since Zach was here, I'd ask, maybe it's something we need to look into to make sure Taher and stuff is fulfilling what they're supposed to be doing.
Well, there was a point last year too where they didn't have milk one day, and then there was only like one option that was like a slice of ham. So this hasn't been like a new issue either.
Okay, all right. Thanks.
Any other questions for Zach? All right, thank you, Zach. 6B, Superintendent Report.
I've been working on a lot of different things, so updating our seniority list since we're started the school year now. So that'll go out to teachers in the next week, or to the staff in the next week. And then we'll approve that at our October meeting. Construction update. I don't know where to start. So we've been waiting for our air handler for the high school gym, which does the cooling and the heating. It was supposed to be shipped last Thursday. We got a message last Wednesday that they pushed the ship date off until this Thursday. So, the concerning part about that is it's going to start getting cold, so we do need to get that unit here so we can get it hooked up. Everything's up there to hook it up. It'll take a week or so to get it all hooked up and finalized once it gets here. And we originally had it scheduled sometime over the next 2 weeks to get it completed, just because there aren't any after-school activities in the gym over the next 2 weeks. Then the chiller, originally that was supposed to be shipped in June, got pushed back all summer long. 2 weeks ago, we heard it was our September 23rd, then we heard September 22nd, and then now last week they updated us telling us it would be November 14th. So, not really as big a deal because the chiller is just to chill the building. Therefore, in the next few weeks, I'm assuming it's going to get cool enough where we won't be air conditioning the building or dehumidifying the building like we have been. So, the boilers typically come on right around MEA. So that work will get done after the boilers are on. But we will keep the temporary chiller here until we feel it's no longer necessary. New scoreboards in the high school gym are being installed today and tomorrow. So they took the old ones down today, installed them in the auditorium gym, and they'll be working on getting the other ones installed tomorrow. That's shot clocks, the new scoreboards with the side panels, and the one scoreboard has the decorative arch also. One thing we're looking at is getting some smart passes for our students, and what I mean by smart passes are they're digital passes rather than giving a paper pass to a student. It's something they can put right on their Chromebook. The teacher approves it, and then the teacher can see how long they're out of the classroom each time, how many times they've been out of the classroom that day, not only in their class, but throughout the day, and then throughout the month. So it tells how many times they're leaving the classroom and how often, for how long. So it's something we're looking into, getting more information on that. Going back to the construction weight room remodel, that's going well. The floor is in progress, so the old rubber floor is taken out. The new rubber floor is in a warehouse waiting for an installation date. And then the old equipment, or the equipment that's currently down in the track shed will be moved up here until new equipment gets here. It's about a 10 to 12 week time frame for the new equipment, so we're figuring on installing new equipment over probably the holiday break. School expectations, so I did hand these out to everybody. These are posted throughout the school. On the high school side, they're posted in the hallways and also in the buildings. They've also been gone through with the principals and the students and staff the first day of school. And then behavior response plan is the other handout I gave you. These are to help teachers understand what their expectations are of when they should send students to the office, or if they need some additional support with some behaviors going on. And then we also have a form that the teachers fill out, and it's just to help us track the behaviors that are happening, so we can look at trends, time of day, what teachers seem to be having the most issues, so we can support them better. Then one other thing that's kind of been a hot topic over the last couple of years is the block scheduling. So we've had long, in-depth conversations about that. I've kind of given my suggestions. Jake, the high school principal, has given his suggestions. Our new director of teaching and learning, and David Rysdam, who is a social studies teacher for us, is looking to get some administrative hours. So Casey Rose and David Rysdam are looking at creating a modified block schedule where there would be 40-minute class periods, either 7 or 8 a day, and then there would be some classes that would still have the block schedule that feel that they need the block schedule, such as industrial technology, art, science, those classes. So they're working with the staff to see if they can create that modified block schedule in order to make that work for the students and staff. The last thing is we've had a lot of activities going on and everything. Paul Bruner, our AD, has been out and about building relationships with the students and coaches, talking with them. Friday night, he was in the student section the whole game, cheering with the kids and talking with the kids and building those relationships. So it's been a wonderful addition to our staff. So, but any questions for me?
Do you want to talk about the no backpack?
Oh, yes, that was implemented starting today. No more backpacks. So they have to use their lockers. And thankfully, we didn't have anybody sent to the office today for wearing their backpacks. So that
And
was a
that-
great thing.
And that came about more of a safety issue?
Came about
right?
as a safety issue and a recommendation from the teachers in a staff meeting last week as they brought it up on how they wanted to implement it, so. Mr. Hager, the high school principal, talked to them, created a slide show that all of the students would see during advisory, and then they would be implementing it starting today. So,
Is that just in between classes, or is it in and out of school?
no, they can bring them into school,
Just-
but they have to use their lockers. They can't use them and carry all their stuff to their classes. So-
My son was one of them. He hasn't used his locker for a couple of years.
Neither
So
has-
he would carry everything in his
And,
backpack.
Yeah,
so.
the procedure used to be no backpacks. Then when we had COVID, we didn't want kids mingling, so we allowed backpacks. And now we're just to that point of saying no more backpacks.
How has the cell phone policy been going?
We've had a few sent down to the office, but not like we have in the past. I haven't heard too much about cell phones other than the first couple days when we have a new teacher that said, no, this is the way we're gonna handle this, and sent them to the office, so.
You haven't noticed teachers allowing them to use it in the classroom?
I haven't, but I haven't been in the classrooms as much as I would like to be, so.
You've made some changes to advisory that are
Oh,
starting.
yeah.
Yeah, changes to advisory starting next week is on Tuesday, Thursday. They have some choice times and some different clubs that are starting. They have a community service club that Mr. Wrestler's starting. There's a cosplay club that was started last year, and that's gonna continue going on.
Did you say cosplay?
Yes. And then, gosh, I can't think of the other ones, but Mr. Hager has worked with the staff about, they're doing this on Tuesday, Thursday is when they'll go to their clubs, and they'll have their advisory on Monday, Wednesday, Friday as normal, so. Students seem to be excited about it.
So do the students have to choose something, so every Tuesday and Thursday they have to do something, or how's that work, I
They
guess?
choose, there's a list of the clubs set out, so they're choosing the clubs. But if they have one they don't have interest in, they have an advisory they can go to, is my
Okay.
understanding.
It's just called study hall then,
I think they're just giving them that
right? Yeah.
opportunity to be a study hall. So,
Any other questions?
I was gonna have Mr. Hager here, but he wasn't feeling well at the end of the day, so I sent him out of here.
Okay.
Have there been a lot of complaints about lunches?
The biggest complaint I've heard that's gotten to me is the, how they were charging for lunches, because if they weren't it used to be that if they didn't take what was required as a meal, they would send them back to get what is required. And the new director was reporting it as just a separate entree. So if you, so they were getting charged extra for that. So that's something we're working with food service about, but As far as quantity and quality of food, I haven't heard anything. Tim was the first one I've heard anything from. I haven't,
I've heard too.
so.
I mean, my daughter, again, she came home and some of her friends and they were talking about it. I overheard it, so I asked them about it. And they said one day they ran out of pizza and what they ended up having was like, it looked like a piece of flatbread. They put some tomato paste on it and like one pepperoni. And that's what they gave. Now I understand, you know, they're running through different people and stuff like that. And then she said something about they really don't have fruits out. Like the one fruit they had out, they put it with the salad bar and it was dried cranberries and that was the only fruit. And then she says they have chicken a lot, so I said, read off the lunch menu to me. And one day, both choices were chicken. So it's like, yeah, we need a little variety there. And 1 week they had 5 days where they had chicken. So just, I know that's what she was saying. And then today I asked her how lunch was and she said all they had was skim milk. No, that could be a supply, well, I mean, no, they had food, but for the milk choice. But, you know, and I know supply chain stuff can affect that.
I
but-
do know that there's been some milk issues.
Yeah, so.
And that's the state has a new distributor for the milk.
Yeah. But it was just something because it is a new people working in there, new head of, you know, from Taher, I should say, working here, so.
Right.
Are they fully staffed in there?
No, it sounds like they're still 2 or 3 short, from what they said. I know since we started the school year, there's 3 new faces in there. So they have been able to recruit some.
Who's the director?
Gary
It's Dunnick.
Dunnick, yeah. Previously, he was,
He used to work at MSU. Did
MSU,
some stuff with
yep.
their like lunchroom.
LeSueur Henderson.
Yeah. He's been all over the place. We got to meet with him ahead of time. He seems like I think he did have the one day, I know he ordered some ground beef. It came in late on the truck and it was frozen solid, so they had to do some switching around. That was really the only thing I've heard about supply chain, but maybe milk's just not something that's came to my attention yet, but we're hoping to set up a meeting with them soon, and we have a kind of a list of things to go over, so.
If there was ever an issue like that, the hamburger, do we have the ability to like run to Whistys to get stuff?
We did some of that last year, when they were really short on food. They'd like run out to Sam's Club or I don't know if Whistys came up. Sam's Club's what I remember. They'd go run and buy stuff, so.
Yeah, but there would be that opportunity for them to run, not us.
Yeah.
So,
When I know we talked about the adult prices of the food and if that's something with our, I don't know if you talked to Matt about it at
I
all,
did
but
talk to
the-
Matt about it.
If that extra funding that we have can,
Oh.
well, 'cause I
Well,
don't
I
know when
think
they
they
went up or
they
if
said
they.
for the adult meal, that's like, you have to charge at least what it costs or something. There was some
So we're at
requirement they
the-
were hitting that we had to raise that.
And we had to raise it to
Okay.
$4.95, but we didn't want to have to keep a bunch of nickels in the office, so we just put it at $5.
Right.
Got it.
Yeah.
And realistically,
That was-
you can't go anywhere else and get a good
No.
lunch
Right.
for
Not
$5.
even McDonald's.
No, I just,
Yeah.
somebody had brought that up to me and I
Mhm.
just asked him to look into it to see if
Right.
that was a requirement that we
Yeah.
had to do, so,
There was
because I
a few
figured it
things
was.
they brought up, like some of the à la carte pricing they wanted us to raise too, but they said you didn't have to do it all at once, so we kind of met them in the middle, or at least went up a little bit, some of the items. So, and I don't know if just that was something that the previous staff there weren't paying attention to. I mean, we never, other than the main lunch pricing, I never remember discussing à la carte, you know, I thought that was just kind of their deal. They buy it, they sell it for what they need to sell it for, but, yeah. Learning lots of new things.
Where are we at with our staffing? Are we fully staffed? Are we still short some positions or have all our custodial and para positions?
We're still
filled?
short 1 custodian, but we do have a couple applicants that came in over the weekend. Paraprofessionals, I think we're still short 1 at the high school. And then our family service coordinator that we get through South Central Human Resource Center out of Owatonna. They did not fill that position. That was Heather Winter's position. So that was for, they had 3 openings. It was ours, Wasika's, and New Richlands. The only one that got filled was Wasika's. They didn't get ours or New Richlands.
But they're still planning on,
They're still working on it, but I don't foresee them getting somebody just because of what they pay and compared to what others pay for that position.
Any other questions? All right, 6C, Safe Routes to Schools report.
Safe route to school, it's still a thing. They came in and marked where our fences need to be moved to. I asked when they were gonna be starting this project, so we know when we have to have the fences moved by. They're still waiting for a permit through, wetlands, and then it has to go to the state for final approval again. So it may still be this fall, or it would be early spring,
Which fences do we have to move?
behind the track shed.
Okay, that's right.
They did get it marked, so when Karen Fencing has time, they'll be here within the next week or 2 to move that fence for us.
Are they going to have to, because they were gonna run between the old bus barn and the baseball field, right? And then are they still going to the south, right there, you know, like behind the dugout, be the first baseline dugout?
First
'Cause-
baseline, yeah,
'Cause
along the
So
road
are they
there.
gonna have to then take those trees out?
No,
Or-
they do
Nope.
not have to touch the trees.
Okay. I thought that was one of the things they might have to do, but,
Yeah.
okay.
But if you look, they have some,
Flags
it's
up
painted down there now, so you can see where, approximately where it's gonna go.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right, 6D, budget information. Enrollment update.
Enrollment's up, so, we budgeted for 655 students. We're actually at 678 students. We're up 5 from last month, so, good problem to have.
And it looks like we gained 5 preschoolers too?
Yes, we did gain a number of preschoolers that signed up late.
Nice. Any questions on that? All right, historical cash balances. I don't know if there's really anything to talk. Any questions on that from anybody? All right. 6E, committee reports. Jeremy pretty much gave you an update on most of the stuff that we talked about, I think. Let's see, it was the construction update, the weight room. They've been doing a roof audit, and, Mike had to, reaffirm that some of our roofs are Garland roofs versus the James Manfield's roof. The kitchen replacement of the refrigerator unit, that's not anything we talked about, that is gonna cost $7,300, and we had the money
That's
to
enough.
pay for that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, in that extra that we've got.
Yep,
Did we get that replaced?
not yet, we're
Not
still
yet.
waiting for the parts.
And then a new service agreement with MEI for the elevators, right?
Yep.
The, I don't know.
So instead of
More about
monthly,
that.
it's,
The snow removal, did we decide on that? Because we had talked about,
he was getting a more firm quote from them.
okay. So we're getting a quote from Bornicki's on the snow removal for this year. We talked about replacing, whether to replace the truck and plow. Let's see, the events, the flex custodian, we talked about that. Possibly looking at trying to get rid of that again. And then discussed our facility use policy along with that. So I don't know, do you want to say anything, either one of you?
Well, I did go back and look after the good discussion that we had with Mike on that and look back at some of my notes from contract discussions to way back from when we were kind of doing the flex custodian stuff and I actually agree with Mike that we need to really look at our policy for that and the flex custodian. Back when this was first implemented, we were nowhere near the number of events that are being done now on the weekends. I mean, we're talking Saturdays and Sundays and even during the weeknight now with some community events and stuff. So I think that is something that needs to be addressed and looked at, so. Mike was right, and so I kind of think so.
I know. I don't know what just happened.
Oh,
Can you just hit
Down
back
here
or
is
something,
fine.
or
Hit
undo?
I was trying to hit undo on mine too, just to see
You
if
did
I
it?
did it on
Hit
accident.
undo. Way to go, man.
This
I
one?
see it.
I don't know if I did it, I just meant everyone
Yeah.
should almost hit undo and see what happens.
Where's undo? Touch it. I
It's
should-
just the arrow right up here.
mine's not working.
There
There.
it is.
Oh,
Must have been Laura.
Mhm.
I don't
Take
think
the
I touched
gavel away
it.
from her.
I didn't touch anything that I know of. Okay, where were we now? Buildings and
Cool,
grounds, okay,
consent agenda.
so, all right, any other questions on the Building and Grounds Committee report? All right, move to 7, approval of the consent agenda. As always, we can pull anything out of there. And anybody have any clarifying questions before we move on that? You did get the personnel staff changes updated, right?
Yes.
Okay.
It's
I
the
saw
red
it in
link.
the other. Okay. I saw it in the other format, so
Yep.
I looked at it then. All right. If not, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
That's Tim Burke. Do we have a second?
I'll second
And that's Tim Johnson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed say nay. Motion carries 7-0. 8, old business. Approval of policies with substantial changes.
So these are changes on policy 524 recommended by MSBA for the computer and internet acceptable responsibility use and safety policy. So, like I said, these are just the recommendations from MSBA for those changes.
I did have one question on 7. If you go down to that. Right, up a little bit. The sentence, the second sentence where it says users will not attempt, oh no, sorry. Yeah, users will not attempt to gain unauthorized access to the school district system or any other system through the school district system. Does that make sense?
No.
Okay. So I don't know if that's
I'll
part of
see
the
what it-
MSBA or if that was.
I'll see what it says.
Okay. Because even the crossed out, I mean, it was there with the crossed out, that didn't even make sense, so.
Right.
I was just confused by it, what it meant.
Sure you didn't catch that one.
I know I didn't.
All right. Any questions on that? This'll be our next, is this considered our first reading?
No, it's our last reading.
Oh, that was our last, oh, this is the actual.
So does that have to be
Oh, we've
checked
done this
before we can
already.
approve
It has
it?
to be checked before we can approve it, so we
Okay.
can approve it at the next meeting.
Got it. Sorry, should have caught that sooner, I guess. All right, so we'll move on from that then. 9, new business. Approval of special education purchase of service agreements with Waseca Public Schools for the 22-23 school year. And so we can approve all of those together? Is
Yeah.
that how that works, or do we have to do them all
We have to
separately?
do them all separate, or they're all in one, so we can approve them all.
Okay.
One thing that I found is, each one of them says, agreed that during the 2022, 2023 fiscal year. One actually says 2023, 2023.
Yeah.
So is it, because this one says 23, 23, but all the other ones say 22, 23?
Should be 22, 23. So that's a misprint on Mankato, or on Wasika's part.
But is it,
So
but is it
it's-
fiscal year, because the payments aren't due until fiscal year 23? So is it
So it is
only for
23.
23 fiscal year, or should it be 23, 24?
All of these should be for this year, the year we're currently in. I don't know if that one's, I'm just looking at the payment schedule.
So it's a cleanup payment, 23. So we make
Yep.
our first payment in January.
Mhm. So should it only say during the 23 fiscal year?
Matt?
I'm just looking at one thing here. If these other ones that say 22, 23 have different payment schedules or not, no, they're both the same. I mean, when you say fiscal year 23, to me, that means the fiscal year started in July of 22 and ran through June of 23. The whole fiscal year 22, 23 thing is kind of a, you know, you can say it just to help illustrate that, but really, we are currently in fiscal year 23 right now, so I know it's a misprint and we can point it out to them, but I don't think it changes anything with the terms of the agreement. But yeah, they just send us these, so we'd have to tell them to modify it.
Which one was that on that?
It was
That
just
was
the
the first
top
one.
The top one.
So when we do our approval, we can make that notation with that being amended to 22, 23 school year, and that's how it's approved in our meeting minutes then.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, it could say either 22, 23 school year or 23 fiscal year.
Right, you could just cross off the,
I'd probably keep it consistent with the other
Yeah.
ones and.
Because I think all the years past when we've been doing this, it's always, they always say the school year, like the 21,
Right.
22, 20, 21,
Mhm.
you know, so.
yeah.
All right, any other questions on it? If not, do we have a motion then?
I'll make a motion to approve the contracts with the notation of the years being changed. Does that sound good?
That sounds good.
That's Tim Burke. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
That's Sherry Dashner. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Motion carries 7-0. B, approval of business agreement and MOU with Counseling Services of Southern Minnesota.
So Counseling Services of Southern Minnesota provides a therapist that comes in and works with us. We've had this for a number of years now. So this is if they're sending in the therapist, and then they will sometimes have other behavioral workers that come in and help also. So they charge the actual students' insurance companies, so it's not an expense for our school district. This is just our contract with them.
Any questions on that one? If not, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve as noted.
And that's Tim Elke. Do we have a second?
Go ahead, Kendra.
That's Kendra Hain. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Motion carries 7-0. C, notice, or approval of the notice of general election. So
So-
these, yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. We do have general election and special election coming up, school board members. So, we have 4 openings for a 4-year term, and then, 1 opening for a 2-year term. and this is the ballot.
Any questions? If not, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
That's Tim Burke. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
That's Tim Elke. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Motion carries 7-0. D, approve certifying maximum preliminary levy authority.
Matt?
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah, and these links I had uploaded and then they went away, I just noticed, so I put them back, but I don't know what happened
The
there.
impact still isn't right. The impact pulls up this report.
Okay, I did this earlier today, and I don't know why it went away. But I'll try it again.
My impact one's pulling up the one. The correct one, I should say.
Mine are the same,
All
same
right.
as the first link.
Well,
Maybe I saved mine before you
Probably.
messed it up. I mean, before something happened.
jeez. All right, why? Okay. The joys of Google. All right, let's see if that works. But anyways, the first document, yes, this is our long levy. Although we haven't added any pages for a couple of years here, but this is 39 pages of, you can really dig in here if you want. The one thing I was just gonna point out on the first page, before we go back to the results, is you can see the RMV, which is just the value of all the properties in the district's taxing area, you know, has gone from that 380 in 22 to now 406,000. So obviously, I know we had that discussion when people are getting their statements and everybody's housing values were going up, and that's reflecting that there now in totality. So I'm guessing that trend, well, who knows what's gonna do now, because now the housing market's going the other way, but it's just something to keep an eye on. It's obviously a piece of the puzzle. And then we gotta jump all the way to page 30 to kind of see where we're at. So if you just look at kind of the part two, the actual levy ask we have of is about that $4,000 decrease. So obviously we're talking pretty flat. But if you remember last year, we did do the under levy. So the amount we asked for is in part three. So looking at that, now we're talking about a $200,000 increase from that 2.4 number there to the 2,598 that's up above in part two for this year. So, you know, on that end, if we had an under levy, obviously, like, we'd be talking zero impact, but since not under levying at this moment is an impact, that's where I asked Baker Tilly to just kind of look at that. So the second document is that impact document. And I know we always kind of pick on that $150,000 house, or like to focus on that. So just by not under levying, we're looking at about $90 increase from last year. And so I think you can infer from that if we were to do like the 100, you know, we could probably be talking 45, or, you know, the 150, you could maybe be in that, you know, $60, $70 range. So we'll have to make that decision come December. I did kind of ask her if it's typical to, you know, always certify max preliminary and then under levy, and she said that's what most districts do, just because if we were to lock in a number right now, the levy's constantly moving, they're running new reports every day, and even if it changed a penny, well, then we'd have to meet again and approve a different amount. So just for ease, that's why we certified maximum, and then we can come back in December and make that decision, and then we'll have more information. Obviously, this year, our fiscal year 22's final results isn't known exactly yet, with the audit still going on, so we can have more information to make that call. But just to kind of show that if we don't under levy, that's where we'd be at. Just thought that'd be helpful. Any questions?
And we did that last year. We certified the max and then we under levied, but unfortunately what that does is it gives the statements out to the taxpayers thinking we are going to fully levy, and then they don't get a second tax statement that shows what we actually did, so.
Right. And that's what I did ask her, that with the, that's why I asked her what was common, because that was what I told Jeremy too, is that we're gonna end up in that situation, but I guess it's better than the other way of, getting the estimate and then it being higher. At least
Right.
we can rest assured, at least it might be lower, depending on what we do, so.
All right, any questions? If not, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
The maximum levy, right?
What?
The maximum,
Well,
right?
I didn't know I had to say that.
Well, I just want to make sure that that's what you're approving, right?
Sure.
Okay, yep, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
That's Tim Johnson. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Motion carries 7-0. All right, we will now enter into a closed session. The meeting will be closed as permitted by Minnesota statute section 13D.05